WCLN 1170 Radio and Cable Channel 16 are pleased to present We Should Know, hosted by J.W. Simmons, an upbeat, informative look at people, places, and issues facing our community. This education-based analysis of issues will remain positive and informative as we consider closely what we should know.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. We Should Know is on air. I want to thank you for being with us today. We come to you each and every week as Star Communications TV, Channel 16, WCLN Radio, a broadcast all over the eastern part of North Carolina, uploaded to social media platforms. You can pick us up most anywhere. Also, there's a replay on Tuesday, Thursday at 7 p.m. on Star Channel 16. Today, we're talking about business and industry, about growth, about the challenges being faced by small business and industry as a result of the past 16 to 18 months with COVID and what we thought was the emergence of COVID, and now we're right back in the middle of it. But we're talking with somebody that is, I guess, Bart, you are kind of in the middle of that vortex of everything that's going on with industry and business. Bart Rice is the Director of Business and Industry at Sampson Community College. Bart, you've been with the Coast Guard. You lived and grew up in Myrtle Beach there with your family, spent some time, and apparently you met somebody that not only you enjoyed being around, you decided to marry her and move to Sampson County.
Married into Sampson County.
Sampson County, which is a gracious move. As a guest I had years ago told me that he was glad to be here, and he got here as soon as he could when he found out about it.
Well, actually, I got here and I said, "Where have you brought me?"
Yeah. Is this the country or what?
But now we go other places, and I say, "Gosh, get me home! I can't stand this traffic. Let's go."
Absolutely. Well, we're glad you're here. You spent 13 years at the college.
13 years. I turned around and it was 13 years. It happens fast.
And, I want to thank you for your service with the United States Coast Guard. You guys do a great job, not only on the coast, but a lot of people don't realize it, but in major conflicts and so forth, the Coast Guard can be involved in that as well.
Definitely. Well, that's when I started out. I actually, right out of boot camp, I went overseas for about 6 months and did safety inspections on vessels coming in and out of the Persian Gulf. So it got real fast.
Yeah, I can imagine. Because a lot of times folks think, well, Coast Guard just kind of cruises up and down the intercoastal and makes sure they check boats and that kind of, but it's so much more.
It is. I mean, the Navy calls us puddle pirates.
Yeah.
So that's the thing. But, the main part of what I did, to begin my career in the Coast Guard, I was on a helicopter crew as a rescue swimmer. So we did that, but then it got to where the advancement was so limited, I lateraled over to bosun mate and did drug interdiction and search and rescue. So I actually liked that better, but it got a little hairy sometimes.
Well, I'm glad you're willing to share that with us. You got 3 children. Your wife teaches at public schools here in
Carr
Clinton,
School. Yes,
at Carr School, Teacher of the Year. Congratulations to her.
Yes, she is. I'm proud of her.
I'm kind of getting a little bit in the personal world, but I want to do that because I want folks to get to know you as I have known you for 13 years now. So,
right.
And I think that's good because a lot of what you do in your role is connectivity and working together to create solutions to what may be problems or create opportunities sometimes that folks don't see there.
Well, that's the biggest part of what I do is building trust, because when you're working with somebody with their business, that's their baby, and they don't want to let the golden goose out to just anybody. You have to build that trust and let them know that, hey, I'm here to help you. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to share your secrets or anything like that. I want to see you succeed and do good, because that's going to help out the community.
The business sector as a whole, but particularly small businesses, has taken a huge hit with the current COVID situation. Over the past 18, 20 months that this whole thing has been going on. And I say that as we sit here today, it's continuing to evolve. I mean, many people obviously know that as we're talking, they're listening to us, there's this huge Delta thing going on, and you see businesses now changing the way they require masks, require the things. There's a divide. What are you hearing from businesses as in the sense of currency of information now? Are they afraid that we're fixing to revert back to the days when they had to close the doors, or what?
Well, I think there's hope there that that's not going to be the case, because when this first started, we had businesses that were deemed unessential, and they had to close, where their neighbor might have been able to stay open. So there was a lot of uncertainty, and the bills didn't stop coming. So they had to figure out a way to pay. The SBA money wasn't out yet. Some of them had employees that they couldn't pay. So it was a really tense situation, and a lot of people, they just didn't know what tomorrow held. And I think there was that hope there that we're not heading back down that rabbit hole. We need to do what we can. If it's wear the mask, if it's gets vaccinated, just do that so we can keep moving forward. They don't want to see 2020 happen again.
Absolutely. Over a decade ago, the North Carolina Community College system, with some state funding, developed small business centers throughout the state of North Carolina. 58 community colleges. These were very specialized areas. The area you're responsible for as director of small business center is a very specialized area. Over the years, it was proven and has been proven, I think, to be a very successful move by the state, because you shore up those small businesses. It's beyond what typically folks maybe think, well, the chamber's supposed to do this, but the chamber don't have time to do all the things you do.
We're a lifeline. A lot of times when people want to start a bit, they don't know where to even begin. And that's where, they can come to us. And it's funny, because I hear every day, I've been in this position for 4 years, and I hear it every day. Gosh, we didn't even know you were there. You were here. Somebody just said, hey, why don't you try the small business center? And they gave a call, and we got the ball rolling. And it's like, gosh, if I would have known this, I would have done it a long time ago. So, we're just kind of the lifeline part of it. We'll help you start a business, and if you have a business, you're just kind of stagnant or you're stuck, we can help you over the hump and get you moving in the right direction for growth and hiring new employees and just creating new and exciting areas in the county. But going back to the Chamber of Commerce, we partnered together. Us, the Small Business Center, the Chamber, the Main Street Director, city planners, county planners. We all get together to help the business from different areas and kind of make it a total package, if you will, for a small business owner. And, there's times that I refer them, hey, go see the chamber. I think they're going to be able to help you get your name out there, or they've got a lot of benefit for you. And that's a lot of what I do too, is refer the clients. Someone might have a specialized need that I can't help them with, but I know somebody who can, and I can pay for that out of Small Business Center funds to help them with some one-on-one counseling with an expert. We see that a lot with QuickBooks, especially, the bookkeeping side of things. So, but it's amazing to me that people don't know about us. As much as we try to get our name out there, beat the pavement, walk around. I have a commercial that's run through Star, and the word of mouth, but there's still those people who haven't heard of us.
The critical piece for me is that once you get connected with somebody, particularly with a new business, one of the things that I know that you do is that you look at those folks that maybe have an idea. I don't know, maybe a taco stand. They may be selling lemonade, but you talk to them about a business plan. I know that's kind of a first step for you, and I know that's a kind of a passion piece for you as well. Tell us, why is that important, and what's the critical piece of that?
Well, a business plan, it takes time, and I think that's what turns a lot of people off with the business plan. But if you really look at it and delve into, I give everybody a business plan guide, and it walks you through each step. It goes through step by step where you can find the information you need to do, but it forces you to look at your business. You're going through, who are my competitors? How am I going to market this? Where are my customers here, local? Am I going to have to do this online? It makes you look at every aspect of a business and lets you see, is this going to be a viable business, or is this like just a hobby that I wish I could take further, but it's probably not going to work. Maybe not right now, or maybe I need to find something else or add something to it. It
sounds like the business plan helps that person understand what they're doing, if it not only fits the environment, but is there enough analytical data there to say the population you're looking at serving is actually going to be interested, or are they actually going to buy your product? Is it something that they need a storefront for? All of those kinds of things?
Yes. It makes you look at that, to see where you're going to operate. am I going to have one-time customers or am I going to have repeat customers? Those repeat customers are what allow you to stay in business. So a lot of people don't know. They've never thought that far ahead. And that's why I like to kind of lead with the business plan. It really is informative, and it's lets you look inside yourself, and you can say, okay, I don't need to do this, or yeah, I'm ready to go. This move.
And the other part of it that strikes me when I look at the business plan itself, it addresses the financial feasibility of it. And I think one of the things that you've mentioned in the past talks about what kind of funds and resources and assets financially does the person have to substantiate that business? Because sometimes the business has to run for a year or 2 years.
Yes, and that's something else that most people don't realize when they're getting into it. Initially, that business and you are going to be pretty much welded at the hip. You know, your assets are the business assets and vice versa. So you've got to be willing to put some of your personal things into this business to get it up and running before a bank will even look at you and say, yeah, okay, I'm going to give you some money to help you out. You know, they want to see if it's going to be able to stay open and run.
The other part of that, when I look at what you do in conjunction with the Small Business Administration, is there's funds there and there's available funds, but oftentimes folks don't understand that you have to support the need for those funds.
That's right. There's all kinds of money out there. You know, you got the SBA. The Rural Center is somebody that I refer to a lot. They're big on getting small business started in rural areas. Self-Help Credit Union, Carolina Business Fund. You know, all those will help startups, but you got to have a plan first.
We're going to go to break, but when we come back, I want to kind of address that piece of the kinds of things folks need to think about that may be helpful to you before they call you or come to see you to have. So as we go to break, we'll kind of use that as our lead in from break. So ladies and gentlemen, stay tuned. We're talking with Bart Rice about small business. If you're thinking about one, we're talking about things that you might need before you come visit with Bart that would be beneficial to you. We'll be back in a moment.
Experiencing slow internet? If you have a fast internet package, the problem is most likely your wireless router. With more devices using Wi-Fi, your wireless router may not be able to deliver the speed and coverage you need. We now have the leading solution to enhance your internet experience. Using small devices in a mesh network, these Wi-Fi appliances cover just about any size home so that all your devices can operate to their fullest potential. Whole home Wi-Fi from Star Communications. Get the most out of your internet connection.
Welcome back, folks. We're talking with Bart Rice, the director of the Small Business Center. In fact, he covers Small Business Center and the industries in the area, employability, all of those things that relate to business and industry. Bart, thank you for being with us, and been with Sampson Community College for 13 years. Family right here in Clinton, ex Coast Guard guy, and glad you found Clinton 13 years ago, and you've been very productive, been a big part of this community. One of the things you do is with the Small Business Center, as we were going to break a while ago, we were talking about the importance of networking with folks to understand that small business planning piece, that part that has the analytics, whatever the product, commodity, or service is spelled out. I'd like to kind of continue that for a moment, because we might have some folks out there that has an idea. I mean, I think we're in a world now that hopefully will soon be post-COVID, that folks have been, should I say, inspired to do other things. Talk to us about some of the things that they need to think about as it relates to a business plan.
First and foremost, you really have to have yourself together. Your credit, your finances, those all have to be together. Because if you can't manage yourself, you're not going to be able to manage your business effectively. So that's the biggest thing that I see is, and that's the biggest hazard for somebody coming in, that it's going to take a long time because they've got to repair their credit first. Whereas if you have an idea in the back of your mind and you're working a job, that's when you need to start working on it. You need to get all that stuff in order before you come to me. That way you're not put out a year or 2 years in before you can get anything going.
And I think the area we're in lends itself to agriculture-related businesses. So, for example, we could talk about somebody that decides, well, I want to sell fruits and vegetables 8 months out of the year, and the Other months I'm going to do something else. So it could be either a full-time thing, which they need to decide, or it could be a part-time thing. But the level of reality check for you, it seems, what I've read and what you've indicated to me, is that financial base. Even as it relates to small business administration funding and those kinds of things, is time critical to that? I mean, does it take a long time to get all that paperwork done? Because a lot of people tell me it's not worth it because there's so much paperwork.
It really does. It takes a long time. And that's one thing that I kind of saw at the beginning of the pandemic, is you had Hurricanes Matthew and Florence come by, and they got funding, or they had to go through that process for both of those. And they were really, I don't know if I want to go through this again. So that is a very intensive process. And by the way, you have to have a business plan in order for them to even look at you for funding. So that's something that most people don't realize until it's at that point where I've got to have some help, and then they've got to piece together a business plan really quick.
So the banks even have to have a business plan, not only if you're getting it through federal supported funds, but the banks have to have it.
Yes, sir.
So when I think about the business plan, is it something that if a person, two things, I guess somebody could call you and say, look, I want to come in and talk to you about a business I'm thinking about. That's okay. But the other part of it is if you could just say, give us a general layout of what a business plan looks like, that may allow folks to, when they come in the first time, to have a huge piece of that done. So is there just kind of a general layout you can maybe touch on?
There is. You got to have a summary. You got to just a generalization of what you want to do, what it's going to be, what niche are you going to fill, how are you going to market that business, who are your customers going to be, are you just going to sell one product or service, or are you going to have multiple, who are you going to get to help finance it? Are you going to do it all yourself? Are you going to have family funds? Did you get an inheritance you're going to invest in this? How are you going to get this going? And how long is that going to keep you going? Where do you see yourself in 5 years? There's a lot of things. That's what I was talking about before I touched on it. It forces you to look at every aspect of a business to see if it's really going to be worth doing. So that, you're 5 years out. How about your 10 years out? Do you see yourself growing this business and then selling it? That's smart man once told me, if you're when the day you start a business, you also have to have an exit plan, because you never know. There's going to be something brighter on the horizon. You might want to pass it on to somebody, any number of things, but that's part of the plan. So you've really got to think about it before you get going.
Do you need to look at the competition in the area? For example, if you're going to sell, I don't know,
yes.
donuts, do you need to look at the number of donut shops or whatever?
Yes, if you're going to say a lawn business, there's 40 other lawn businesses already operating where you're at. That's probably not the best idea, unless you've got something different that you're going to offer.
That distinguishes you.
Yeah. But everybody with a trailer and 2 mowers and a weed eater and blower, that's a lawn business. Well, okay, what if you have a pesticide license and you can spray and you can identify things in their yard or whatever it may be? Just something different that's going to set you apart that they might not have. And I always tell people, call your competition, see what their price and their prices is. Can you come in underneath that and still make money? Because you don't want to get into a business and not make money. That's what you're there for. Absolutely,
because you got to pay the light bill. You got to pay.
That's right.
If you got employees, you got to pay employees and those kinds of things.
That's right. But that's just the basics part of it. It makes you look at it all the way through the life of the business from the start to the finish.
Once you get to that point that you have a lot of these things packaged, kind of an introduction, maybe you send the person back and say, okay, I need for you to get kind of an analytical, or you might need an analytical study. What parts of that business plan can you actually help them with to connect them with other folks that may be able to do these specific pieces that they might not understand how to do?
I always encourage them to go and build a relationship with a bank. You're going to have a business bank account. Go talk to them, see what they offer. And don't just go to one, go to 3 or 4 and see who's going to offer the best deal for you, who you feel comfortable with. Go talk to an attorney. You never know when you're going to need somebody. You don't have to retain anybody, but find somebody who you're comfortable talking with, who knows what you're going to do. And so you have that relationship there if you ever got to use them. An accountant, bookkeeper, those, if you're not good at the financials and analytics, that's somebody who can coach you through that and help you get everything together. Insurance. Most things, if you're going to offer a service to somebody in general, you're going to have insurance. And that's always the piece that people forget about. You don't want to get in trouble and not have insurance. So I always encourage them to go and build those relationships with different places in the community that can help them, complete the plan, or maybe give them ideas of something they didn't think about. Help them with their financial projections. So that's a good starting place.
One of the things that I've noticed, businesses that have merged in the area some of them over the past year, is this agritourism business. And I find it kind of fascinating because, I just kind of took it for granted growing up in the area and living on a farm and growing up on a farm. I would never have thought about that being an agritourism piece. But tourism and agriculture, to pair those two together, apparently there's some folks are having success with that.
That's something that, that just started getting going right before the pandemic hit. There's actually a mobile farm school that goes out, and they'll help you through finding financing, helping getting things up and going, with the tourism piece. There's a app, an Visit NC app that you can get that shows you all through the state where these tourism farms and things are that you can go and visit and see. So yes, it's getting big and growing. I think we have a few in our county here that are getting up and going.
Everything from goat cheese to tomatoes.
That's right.
I mean, it's amazing.
Before you're going to be able to go get goat cheese and then knit a sweater with the thing.
Yeah, and probably from where we sit, we could find either one of those places in less than 30 minutes.
You're right.
And I think that's the fascinating piece for people now. If you have the imagination, the energy and determination, and check with you at Sampson Community College Small Business Center, you might can make your dream, help them make their dream work. But
come true, yes.
They also, if they don't, they may end up, I'm going to say wasting time, but they end up spinning their wheels a lot when you could help them through that patch,
right,
by connecting them to the right people.
Your original idea might not be good, but it might have a good part that we could go into another area. So
how often do you see people come in that you talk to, you look at, and it also kind of strikes you, well, I talked to somebody 6 months ago that had a similar idea, and you think they might have thought their idea was unique, but wait a minute, this one is very close.
And see, I hear that and see that all the time, but with us, there's a confidentiality piece.
Yeah, you can't tell them about that.
So we can't tell them about that.
Yeah.
That's why you say, well, you might want to look at your competition.
Yeah.
Make some calls and see what's out there and see if you're going to be able to fit in.
Well, I think there's also with you, there seems to be this kind of way that you, and it's just part of your personality, you can kind of nudge them in the right way without shoving them in the right way, which could save them a lot of time, a lot of investment they didn't need to do.
Right.
If stuff has already been done. If somebody's already done an analytical study about whatever, how many people likes goat cheese, for example, if that's already been done, there's no need for you to have to redo it.
Right. And, that's a lot of what I do. And I try to make them aware that this isn't my business. This is your business. I can make recommendations. Mm-hmm. I can't give legal advice, but I can recommend that you go seek legal advice because something happened, or this may or may, you might want to take another look at this. Yeah. So that I do that a lot.
How about CPAs, certified public accountants, and those people that have degrees in the field of business? Do we have enough of those in the area that you can call on?
Oh yes, we've got plenty, and they're more than happy to help new business owners.
I think that's critical because sometimes there are tax advantages that's out there to the CPA.
Right, and that's that comes into what type of business are you going to have, depending on the tax advantages. Are you going to do a sole proprietorship, a LLC? Are you going to do a C corp? Or, there's all kinds of things, all types of businesses that you can start, but one may have a lot more advantages for you in your situation than you know.
We're going to take another break. When we come back, I'd like to maybe move the conversation to some of the employability jobs that I know you're looking at with business and industry, jobs that industry needs, some of those skill sets that you can actually train people for. We'll be back.
Okay.
Ladies and gentlemen, we'll be back in a moment. We're talking with Bart Rice, Small Business Center, Industrial Development, Industrial Jobs, those things you might be interested in. Stay tuned, call a friend. We'll be back in a moment.
At home or away, knowing who is at your door is priceless. Star Communications is here to help with its doorbell security camera by Skybell. Live viewing and two-way audio equips you with the ability to always see and greet anyone that shows up at your door. If this is the kind of confidence you are looking for, call Star Communications today at 1-800-706-6538 to learn more about this intelligent security that you can always depend on.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. We Should Know is on the air. I'm J.W. Simmons, your host. Always good to see you each and every week. Hopefully you will continue to communicate with us. Today we're communicating with you about jobs, about businesses, about things you might want to consider if you're out there looking for a job, or maybe you want to do something else. We're talking with Bart Rice, Small Business Center and Industrial Development. And I like that kind of, because you're developing skills for industry. When we talk about skills, Bart, it's like we think about jobs that deal with things that typically, as we talked about on break, maybe people think, I don't really want to get into. Maybe it's something that's that you have to get dirty with, or you might be under a house, or it might be plumbing, it might be electrical, it might be welding. But yet the demand is such, the income is becoming unbelievable for folks that's willing to do that.
The demand is going way up, and there's nobody really thinking about going into it. It's like a stigma almost. It's like, oh, I'm going to get dirty, and I'm going to be grubbing around underneath a house, and it's going to be hot and the weather all the time. I'm not going to like it. But what you don't realize is you can do that, and in 2 years, you can come out and start your own business or work for a bigger company and make just as much or more than a doctor or a lawyer. And you're working with your hands. So in schools, there's not everybody's is cut out to go get a 4-year degree.
That's right.
But we are actually, I'm excited about this. At the college, they're taking a building that used to host a welding department, and they're going to make it a trades academy, where we're going to work hand in hand with the city and the county schools to get kids, 16, I think junior and seniors, to come out and take welding, plumbing, electrical, and get those skills before they even get out of high school. Then when they get done, they can get a job and work, and there's hours that they have to work with a licensed person to be able to go and get their own license. So you're looking at somebody who can, 2 years out of high school, they can be 21, 22 years old, open their own electrical business, become an electrician or a welder or a plumber, and they can come out and make a really good living and do something that they want to do. They don't have to be inside in an office and find out the hard way that, this is not for me. I've actually got I've got 3 children, and my middle son, that's the way he is. He's got to touch everything with his hands and figure it out and move it around, and I can see him going there, doing that.
That was, it kind of reminds me of an article I read a while back that talked about the supply of folks that are electricians, that the electricians in the state of North Carolina, the number of licenses, people that were licensed, had reached that age that they were maturing out, but yet there was nobody coming in to applying for those licenses, and they can see that analytically.
Yes, and that is a very real concern. But that's another challenge that we're going through at the college too, is getting the people to come in and teach the new generation. They're so busy and there's so much work that they can't take the time to come out. So I'm hoping somebody's listening that might be retired or on the verge of retirement that would be interested in coming out and teaching electrical, welding, plumbing, HVAC. We need them. We need instructors and teachers very badly to get the new generation on board and moving.
We're going to try to put your number on the screen for folks, so as we're talking, they can see that number and they can reach out to you, because you're exactly on point with that. It just seems to me that if you're willing to help them kind of extend the information that they've been doing all these years to somebody that maybe is coming into their field, they would get paid for being an instructor.
Yes.
They would be teaching somebody to pick up that skill. This may be a way that somebody is in their 60s or plus that says, well, like you mentioned, I'm tired of doing that work, but yet I don't mind teaching because I know it.
Just pass that knowledge along. These are masters in their field. Just pass that knowledge along to the next generation and keep it going, because the need is always going to be there for those.
When you talk about all these things too, kind of dial us in on the cost. For example, you mentioned the trades and skills being folks like juniors and seniors in high school, and they work their way through it. What's the cost for them going in? Because parents may be listening, or the teenagers may be listening and saying, well, I don't know whether I can afford to go to college, blah, blah.
If they take it while they're in high school, there's no cost.
Wow.
Yes, it's just like going to school. So
free is a good four-letter word when it comes to that, isn't it?
And somebody off the street, it's still not much compared to where you're going to be when you get finished. You're looking at $180 for the tuition and maybe $75 to $80 for a book. So for the total cost of the course with fees and everything, it might be $370 to $380 to take a 96-hour course to get you on your way and get you a certification where you can go and work with somebody and be licensed in probably 2 to 3 years. So it's very minimal cost, even if you're not getting it, a high school student.
Other than the age thing, is one of the things driving this the building market now, with the number of houses that are being built in not only Sampson, but particularly Wake counties, and the demand is just literally unbelievable in Cumberland, Wake, Johnston, these counties. And
if you talk to the tradespeople, they're not just working in Sampson County. They're working all over the place. They're at the beach. They're in Fayetteville, Goldsboro, Raleigh. They're going all over the place. So it's not just a problem here. It's everywhere. The shortage of the tradespeople it's everywhere. So they're having to go and travel and be on the road a lot of times.
And are people willing to kind of make that move? And you mentioned something a while ago I thought was interesting, is that oftentimes folks will see it as something that they have to do as a job, but it could also develop into a small business for them if they decide to spread that out. Because when you said that, it caused me to think about the numbers of vehicles. They may have 3 or 4 vehicles on the road doing these kinds of jobs.
That's right. That's something I like to think, and I like to address when I'm registering our class and say, hey, listen, I do this, but I'm also the Small Business Center director. So when you get done and you get licensed and you want to do this for yourself, come and see me and we'll get you up and running. And in 10 years' time, you might be having a crew of 5 or 6 people doing this for you, where you're not having to be the one underneath the house all the time, unless you really want to, But that's something that I think kids don't think about. High school students and it's not there yet. So I try to plant that seed and get them, maybe I can come back here and make that a go.
When I think about it, and some of the things you touched on seem to be part of a bigger puzzle, which is that area of a licensed professional contractor. Do we have enough of those folks, licensed builders, out there, or is there a door opening to have more of those people come on board?
I think the contractors that we have there, they are almost at their capacity. It wasn't quite there when I built a house here in 2008, and it's funny, the further along you went, the slower it went, because there wasn't enough contractors to come in and do the work in a timely manner. So it almost stopped for a few months. But I think there's always room for new contractors to come in and lighten the load, create competition. That's always good. Capitalism is always a good idea for the community at large. So,
well, I think builders as a whole, because I think about the licensed contractors. That's something you have to go through to have certain skill sets and be certified as a contractor and that kind of thing. But the other part of it is people that just can, as I've said many times, is just to build stuff. That know how to. So a carpenter told me, it's been several years ago, he said, if I could just get somebody that knew how to measure a 2x4 and hand it to me, like measure it, cut it off, and hand it. He said that'd be great. So sometimes the fundamental skills.
And we use NCCER certification for our trades classes, and every level 1 class, it doesn't matter if it's welding or HVAC, there's a core class that they have to take, and that's what they teach. Construction math, different types of tools, just how to read a schematic, just basic things that no matter what area you're going to go in, you're going to have to use. And I think I see that as a selling point, because because you said a lot of people don't know how to measure. They don't know what those lines on a tape measure are.
And I think that's so critical. At the end of the day, I mean, we're teaching, well, hopefully we're continuing to teaching, math and reading and that kind of thing in schools. But if we don't make sure we've got a good trades base out there, that's going to be critical, not only to our future, but to the sustainability of where we are now.
Right. And now we have college career coaches that are actually stationed at the area high schools, and they're on board with getting the students to where they need to be. It doesn't have to be just college. It can be, hey, are you interested in the trade? Have you thought about the trades? You said you didn't really want to go to a college. Have you thought about this? This is a 96-hour class, or this is a 200-hour class. It'll be from August to December, and you'll be certified, and you can go to work.
And the immediacy of going to work, it's like turning your life into a financial gain earlier, therefore building
that's right.
wealth, if you will, occurs faster.
And you don't incur that debt if you have to go to college or university and take on the debt to go. You don't have that.
You alluded to something I want to kind of circle back to right quick before we go to break, but you mentioned that this is something that people kind of overlook. Is it something that before folks do this, they need to think about, is this something that works for me? I mean, I know that everybody's not cut out to be a tradesperson. Everybody's not cut out to be electrician or plumber. So they need to ask themselves that question.
Right.
Is this something I want to do?
And you can do that by just coming in and taking the level 1 class, especially as a high school student. Come out and take the class and see, hey, I really like this, or this isn't for me.
Yeah.
You haven't wasted
minimal investment.
Time. Yeah, you haven't wasted any time.
And that helps, especially with that junior and senior year in high school, because that gives you time to say, nah, it's not for me, and I can then go apply for college 4 years, and then 3 more years maybe in graduate school, and you spent 6 or 7 years of your life.
Well, that too, at least you're moving in a positive direction. You're getting information for yourself. You're not just spinning your wheels. Because I remember when I was there, I came out, I had no idea what I wanted to do, where I wanted to go. Wow. So that's what I would want to see is kids to have the information and be informed to make a good decision for themselves.
We're going to take a break. We're coming up on our last segment. We're going to talk about some of the significant challenges for small business going forward as a result of the pandemic and other things. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll be back in a moment. We're talking with Bart Rice about small business, jobs, possibilities, visions you may have. We'll be back in a moment.
To get the most out of your electronic devices, you need a strong internet connection and a protected home Wi-Fi network. You need high-speed internet from Star. Star has the fastest, most affordable high-speed internet service available for all your devices. We have no long-term contracts or high-pressure sales. Our service speaks for itself, and switching is hassle-free. We take care of everything with free installation from a local company. High-speed internet from Star. Internet at the speed of life.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. We're coming up on our last segment of the show today. We've been talking about businesses. We've been talking about business and industry. We've been talking about jobs. We've been talking about business plans. And we're talking with Bart Rice, who is the Director of Small Business Center and Trade and Industry out at Sampson Community College. All throughout the state, 58 community colleges has someone that does this kind of thing. Bart, I want to thank you for being with us today. As we come up on this last segment, I think it's important for folks to remember that this is a resource that they have that doesn't cost them anything to come and sit down and talk with you and let you kind of lay out for them the possibilities. It's like a huge landscape. This last segment, I want you to kind of, I guess, help us understand and address some of the issues that businesses have been facing during the pandemic, and many people may be facing it, especially my age, younger and a little older and that kind of thing. But one of them deals with the whole digitization of the marketplace now. Businesses almost unilaterally have had to bring the reality together that things have changed, and it's not all about having cash, that people, a lot of times now you go to places you can't even use cash, Bart. And for people like me, it's like, what? This $20 bill is not any good here. I got to use a card or I've got to use my phone.
Yeah.
Kind of talk to us about your experience with that.
Well, from what I saw, especially after that initial shock, if you didn't have an online presence for your business, you were having a tough time because, there wasn't a lot of foot traffic coming in the door to keep that cash flow going. So if you had a website that you could buy and sell on and take money and orders and things, you were on top of the game. Mm-hmm. You had a way to keep going. So that's crazy. And I don't carry a wallet. I don't carry cash. I carry a card and a phone, and that's it. And my dad thinks I'm crazy. And he's a small business owner in Myrtle Beach. He's been in business for 40 years, and he doesn't have a computer in his office. He does everything on the phone. If he can't talk to somebody, he's not going to mess with it.
It's all personal.
That's it. But he's behind the 8 ball when it comes to making orders and things. Now with the supply chain slowed way down, it's getting hard for him to fulfill his orders in a timely fashion. He loses business to somebody who might be online and can make that order and check on it and pivot, or maybe go to somebody else real quick and get what they need. So, if you don't have an online presence for buying and selling, you're definitely behind the ball. And now the marketing piece, the advertising piece, just getting your name out there and your products out there using Facebook or Instagram or Twitter even, and it's funny, that being said, the social media, you got to find out who your customers are and what platform they're on. If you're selling to 18-year-olds, 19-year-olds, they're not going to be on Facebook. You got Snapchat, right. That kind of thing.
TikTok.
So you really got to do a lot of research as a small business owner and figure out what to use, but those social media platforms will allow you to get your name out there for a very minimal cost versus using the newspaper or a billboard or television or something like that small business owners might not be able to afford. Social media is a viable option to get your name out there and what you're doing.
Since you're talking about this, it strikes me, have we transcended that threshold? Do you see us ever going back to, as some of us guys that maybe just a little older would say, going back to yesteryear? We're gone beyond that. I don't know that we'll go back to that.
I don't think so. Now sometimes I'll catch myself saying, let's go back to, I'm just ready to get back to normal.
Yeah.
But it's going to be the new normal.
Yeah.
I think you hear everybody talking about that. I think that's reality. I don't think we're going to go back to where we were.
We're redefining what normal is.
We are every day.
So the digital world itself and the understanding of that, is that something that there's a need for in what we're doing today to try to help people understand it? Is it something that needs to be taught by financial entities? Well, how does folks learn to deal with that?
Classes. I hold seminars and webinars every semester, and I always have 2 or 3 so how to use your social media, how to use pictures the right way on a website, how to boost an ad in your area to who you want to target it to, just for $20 a month to get a budget going. There's all kinds of things, but that's another thing the Small Business Center does that I don't think I've touched on yet, is we have educational webinars and seminars.
Exactly.
Now it's mostly webinars, and until we can get back through the Delta variant and all that stuff and get back face to face. But that's something that is free also. It's on our website. You just sign up for it and pick which ones you want to do and roll with it.
And the time comes, you just click on it and there
you just click on it, there it is. And I try to do the social media at least 2 or 3 each semester in different venues, different platforms. I might do an overview. I actually have done some for some people in Roseboro recently, and person came in and did a Facebook audit on businesses' Facebook pages to see what they could improve upon, what they're doing right, what they're doing wrong, and then come and sit down with the group. It's open to the public, but it also sits down with that group, that core group, and goes through and shows them how to upload videos, shows them how to get on Facebook Live to tell everybody about a sale they're having. So that's something that Small Business Center does too. So the help is there for any arena. And I always try to survey people afterwards to figure out, what more do they want to see? Do they want to see some more of the same, or they want to go in another direction? Do they want to dive deeper? So I can do that the next time. So we're always evolving things and trying to keep things fresh and up to date for people.
And this whole digitization thing strikes me as something that you have to have if you're going to be in the supply chain. And we've talked a lot about, I know off air in different conversations about the supply chain breaking down and we not having enough of this, whether it's a chip for a new car or whatever.
Or Chick-fil-A.
Yeah, exactly. But if you're not in that digitization world, the supply chain is going to pass you by anyway.
More than likely, or it gets really tough. It's doable, but it makes it a lot harder if you're not digitized and you're not hooked in.
Yeah. And I think an example also I was going to toss out and see if you've experienced this with restaurants. It seems that I've seen restaurants surviving when they've changed their whole approach and started doing outsourcing of meals, where you pull up at the restaurant, they bring your meal out, you pay for it, and you're gone. Wow. And they've survived. Some of them survived.
And that's the thing. A small business owner, they're resilient. They're going to find a way. Restaurants had a tough deal. You couldn't have, all of a sudden you couldn't have patrons in your establishment, so they had to keep the doors open somehow. So
you couldn't even get a menu.
It was takeout. Yeah, you couldn't do, or it was a paper menu.
Yeah,
that you take it with you. Yeah, so. And then when they came back, there was the whole thing was, oh, man, I'm cut down to 50% capacity. How am I going to keep the doors open? How am I going to pay the bills at just 50% capacity? They've got it broke down to how many tables they have, how many chairs at each table, how many guests do they have to have a night to be able to keep the doors open, and that was a worry too, but they're making it through. They're using everything in combination, and they've adapted.
We're into the second year of this pandemic, and it's, as we're talking today, it clearly has ramped back up again. And some folks are saying to me that they're looking at 2022 as seeing some sense of a new sunrise in trying to get with their businesses. Are businesses going to be able to sustain another 6 months or 8 months without just literally crashing? And that gets back to the cash flow thing. Is there cash flow ability, even if they are doing all these other things, going to be able to sustain that business?
Well, I think there's a lot of hope there, and I think that's on the back of the government's mind. Do we really need to go back to another shutdown? How detrimental would that be? Because small business is the backbone of the economy of this country, and if you give it another blow like they had to get through last year, it's hard to tell. It's hard to tell, but there is that hope, and it goes back to having that online presence and be able to buy and sell online and keeping that cash flow going, because the doorstep might not have anybody coming over it. So you've really got to keep your options open.
I think the next part I want to get you to touch on too is this whole workforce expectation. There's a different expectation now of folks going to work somewhere. Oftentimes they'll say, well, I want to go to work, but I want to be able to work from my home. That was, just a year ago, that was kind of unheard of. And now all of a sudden it's kind of like an expectation. Is that something you see continuing?
I do, because you don't know what's going to happen. That you have that option, but then there's also jobs that you can't do from home. There's the maintenance jobs, the people that
the trades jobs.
The trades jobs, you can't do that from home. So I'm glad there's that option, because I used it when my kids were home from school. I was able to keep things going and keep meeting people and talking. But I think that's not going to go away. I think we're going to see that become part of the new normal. Is a lot of working from home.
Is the college and is the area that you have oversight, are they prepared to offer those kinds of classes in that kind of
right now? And that's the forward thinking of the administration that we have now is just unparalleled. Every class that is built, continuing education or curriculum, has a Moodle shell attached to it, where if something happens and we have to go home tomorrow, class doesn't stop. They pick right up and go online.
Wow.
So, and there are some classes that you won't be able to continue on if you absolutely can't be there. You're welding, your hands-on type things. But for the most part, there's things that every class can do. There's a book session, a classroom session that can be taught on there, and you won't lose time. So,
Bart, give us your phone number, and we're also going to try to put that on the screen for folks.
Sure. My direct line to my office is 910-900-4025.
And they can reach you there, and we'll try to put it on the screen. I want to thank you for being with us today. We've covered a lot of areas, some of them at the 20,000-foot level. If they want more detail, obviously they can come in and sit down and talk to you.
Yes.
So it's one of those things that's going to be ongoing. And I might say, too, we're talking from the platform of where we are now. In a week, some things may be changing. So again, thank you for being with us.
Very welcome. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for being with us today. We look forward to seeing you again next week right here for We Should Know with another topic and issue, and may God bless.
Thank you for tuning in to this week's episode of We Should Know with host J.W. Simmons. If you have a question, comment, or suggestion regarding this or any episode, please send your emails to weshouldknowedu@gmail.com. And remember to tune in every Tuesday at 2:30 for another informative episode of We Should Know.